Hello there, Ray here, and Minecraft just finished its 10-year anniversary and also becoming the #1 most sold game of all time. I would like to congratulate Minecraft on such an enormous achievement, and also thank Minecraft for letting me be one of millions that enjoy their game. Shortly after Minecraft's birth, I was introduced to the game, and around this time, 10 years ago, I started playing the game of Minecraft, and I have consistently been playing it over the past decade. I like to celebrate my 10-year anniversary by showing you guys a small portion of my 8,220 Minecraft screenshots that I've took over the past 10 years. If any of these screenshots bring back old memories, tell me about it in the comments. At the end of this video, I'll talk a little bit about what Minecraft means to me, and why I continue to play it, as well as share my knowledge through these videos. The exact date in which I started playing Minecraft is unknown. And on Minecraft's official website, and if you look at the date in which it says I started, it is actually labeled as unknown. And after talking to the developers of Minecraft, we came to the consensus that it came out this way because they did not keep that type of data during the start of the game. Although none of the current developers were working on the game at that time, so only really Notch knows. I have purchased a few other Minecraft accounts since then, like my second account was purchased in 2010, and its date is clearly shown. There's around 780 screenshots which I'll be showing today, and I will be commentating throughout the screenshots, kind of explaining what's going on in the image. Now Minecraft is a sandbox game, meaning there is no defined way of playing it, but the game style that I used to play back then when I started wasn't widely accepted during that time. But as the years were on, this type of game playing style is now widely accepted, and now even many of the largest YouTubers are also playing this game style, and is known as Technical Vanilla Survival Minecraft, which is essentially playing the default game and with those limitations seeing what is humanly possible to do. And as you guys will probably see from these images, quite a bit can actually be done just by using the default mode. So my screenshots are going to show a lot of this type of gameplay. Now how people were introduced into a game of Minecraft has always fascinated me. So before we get into showing the screenshots, I'd like to show you guys how I was introduced into Minecraft. And if you guys have a neat story about how you were shown the game, please tell me. But something my friends and I used to do was go online and look for free online games that would save our progress, because we really enjoy playing games together as well as having our progress saved so we could come back and continue playing. My friend told me about a new game that he just found online. It allowed you to be able to place blocks as well as break blocks. And he was showing me how you can break stuff as well as build buildings. And I was really fascinated by it. And he was also showing me how you can do some tunneling. So he went up to a beach kind of like this and he was digging down into the ground. He was talking about how you could go ahead and hide yourself in, placing some blocks over top of you, and he did something like this where he tried to cover himself up. Not really understanding what he did, he tried it again, and then this occurred. Now I was really fascinated by the sand's physics of falling down, but I was really stunned by what just occurred. And I asked him what happened, and he wasn't too sure, but what it seemed to us is that we were looking through the world, but we weren't falling through it. This is what really got me hooked into the game of Minecraft, because prior to playing Minecraft, I played a game called RuneScape, and I was really into finding quirks in the game. And this usually occurred through a lot of technical gameplay. Now there was other things that also got me hooked onto this game, but they weren't introduced into this game until later on. Then they introduced a whole bunch of new block types by pressing B, and they also introduced multiplayer, which really changed the game. A lot of people come on, they all start playing all together. Now most servers that are multiplayer were these kind of anarchy servers where people are just building and destroying stuff. They usually reset once a day at midnight. Then there was these also building servers where people would do a lot of really nice building, but also there was some griefing and there were some moderators. But these usually reset like once a week, and then if you're really good, then they would let you go onto these other servers where they're kind of like whitelisted. I wasn't very good at building, so I wasn't really doing much building, but what I was doing is making these tunnels in between the builds, and I thought I was really secretive making these tunnels, but it turns out what I was really doing is I was covering up all my holes with wool, because I thought green wool looked the closest to being as grass because my monitor was so poor, but later it turns out it was really obvious that all my holes were very visible. Now something I remember is something we called flag wars, where people would build up their country's flag, and then we try to tear down each other's flags. Now at the top of the Minecraft page, they used to have a little counter, and I believe this counter would tell the current number of players that are playing Minecraft at any given time. And it was around this time that I looked at the counter and it said 500, and I was really amazed to think that there was 500 other people playing Minecraft at the exact same time as me. Now then they introduced some mini games such as like the lava survival. I wasn't very good at this. I would actually kind of hop on top of the buildings. I didn't really understand what was the purpose of it until later on. But essentially lava would come down and flow over top of everybody. It would destroy some blocks and stuff. And then you were trying to survive the longest. And I never did ever win any of those games, but they were a lot of fun because you could do building and then also the lava did destruction. Then they also came out games like Infection, where you were pretty much playing like tag, where you touch other people, then they'd be affected, and you work together to eliminate the rest of the people until there was one person left. Now then they started talking about survival mode. This was a huge hype and everybody started talking about this even in Classic. Then when they came out with in-dev, they also made you have to buy a premium account. So before everything was free and now you had to upgrade to play survival. InfDead, which expanded the world essentially an infinite amount of distance, which was an extremely big hype. This is when people started really playing survival mode. We could see like people did the Spaced Out Ladder thing. And then servers started kicking off. When Alpha came out, you see a lot more servers that were playing survival. I played on a lot of different types of servers to do with survival, like Zombie Nation, and a lot of them were these kind of anarchy servers where people would build up small bases, you try to keep your base secret. Now at the same time I was playing on servers, I was also playing on single player worlds with some friends, and this world here I actually started in InfDev and it became my technical world where I used to do really technical stuff such as building a mob farm, building chicken farms. When they introduced chickens could lay eggs, and that was a lot of fun. I also built some passive mob farms, and I also started looking into how mob farms worked and trying to see why my farms weren't working. So I had texture packs to see through the world so I could kind of see why my farm wasn't working. It turns out there was a lot of spiders that were pathfinding to me through the blocks. In this technical world I actually chose to seed specifically for ocean beside the spawn point. That way I could build a mob farm underneath of the ocean and mobs wouldn't be spawning on the surface. I did lose quite a few old photos from the early days of Minecraft just because of Peter crashes and corruptions. And you also notice a lot of these screenshots are actually print screens. Now when dungeons were introduced, I was really into making farms out of dungeons and skeletons. But what's even more cool is to find these weird generation of these 2 or more spawners right beside each other. But it wasn't until skeletons dropped bones where you can make bone meal did making these mob spawner farms really become fun. They also introduced minecarts and booster rails, which you could kind of put 2 minecarts on a rail to boost other ones beside it. I used these x-ray packs to kind of see where I was building my underground tunnels so they would line up with other bases. Now you could use these type of x-ray where I'm looking through the wall. You can kind of see there's 2 dungeons there and I'm trying to see how close they are to each other and seeing if I can make my rail system go to them. But one thing I've always enjoyed about Minecraft is just the natural terrain, and you'll see a lot of these photos are just kind of strange terrain that I took over the years. Now they also introduced the gold apple into these chests that came with dungeons, and I went on this huge exploration thing where I went over thousands of blocks looking for dungeons just so I could find at least one golden apple because they weren't craftable back then. This essentially was the best food possible in the game at the time. And even with these see-through blocks, it still took me like 2 weeks to find this golden apple. But soon after finding that one, I actually found another one on my way back, and I essentially made my world extremely large by this point. This is the same world, this is on top of my base, and this is when they introduce repeaters and start playing around with how repeaters act. And you can also see my pet slime as well as my pet pig there. Now one thing you could do is you could pull up the F3 menu and you can see all the numbers that are given to all the different mobs. So essentially you can see all the nearby entities because their numbers showed through blocks. This was kind of helpful in finding dark spots where mobs were possibly spawning. This made it a little easier to light up your farms. But there was also these kind of generation bugs where you could see through a world similar to what we even see today. And they also introduced cocoa beans inside of these dungeons, which you could turn into cookies, which was the only stackable food source at the time. So then I ended up going through another huge exploration looking for a dungeon that had a cocoa bean in it. So essentially I couldn't go to the dungeons that already generate, so I had to generate a whole bunch of new terrain looking for new dungeons. And this really made my world size quite large. And when slimes were first introduced, I spent a long time in my base trying to find them because they were extremely rare, and slime balls were actually used as a currency on a lot of servers at the time because there was no other use for them. And this is the reason why I actually have that slime pet, because it was really special to actually have one as a pet. I actually still have the survival ever since I started InfDev, and maybe for my 50,000 subscriber special, I'll walk you guys through the world. Then they introduced hunger, sprinting, crouching, as well as creative mode, which are all really big changes. Now the biggest one obviously being creative mode, so you can kind of fly around your world and look for different types of naturally generated stuff, or you can look for really cool structures. Now there was tons of mods throughout all the versions of Minecraft, and there was also mods allowing you to fly before creative. But with creative mode, every time a new snapshot came out, people could go on and easily test stuff. Then they introduced the full release of Minecraft, which was version 1.0. And this came up with some pretty large changes like enchanting as well as potions. And I actually did not like this type of gameplay. I felt like it was too modded, and I never updated my survival world past this point. To me, it felt like it made the game too easy, and I really liked the survival aspect of it. During this time, I played a lot on servers because it wasn't as fun playing single player, it wasn't as challenging, but on multiplayer it was fun. Here I found like a naturally generating cobblestone generator. I took part in different types of servers that had different types of plugins that had like shops and stuff. But usually I would quickly destroy the economies within a matter of weeks, and it wasn't very challenging for me. This transition also helped me get established to enchanting as well as potions. And being able to play with friends really kept the game fun for me. I ended up playing on a wide assortment of different types of servers, many of which were like the anarchy type, and Zombie Nation was the one that I played a lot on, as well as I played like on a Star Wars one. And it was usually whatever servers my friends were playing on, those are the ones I would also play on. But then Sethling introduced his Sky Grid map. To me, I never actually played Skyblock, so this felt like a really cool way to play technical Minecraft with an extra challenge. So I joined a server that played Sky Grid, and I made a pretty crazy base with all the sorted farms that you could possibly think of. And I quickly became the richest person on the server, and we even had like some shops, and they had some other little plugins so you could sell your stuff. But it was run on Spigot, so there was some problems glitching through stuff, just weird stuff that wasn't normally in the game. This is one of the reasons why I actually stopped playing on these type of servers that ran Spigot. It's very difficult for me to design farms for a Spigot server when all my farms were being designed for vanilla survival. This is the time I really started looking into joining a dedicated vanilla survival server. So I joined a lot of different types of servers, kind of getting a feel for it. Most of them turned out to be like semi-vanilla, or they turned off stuff like mob creeping, which made some of my farms not possible to build. But at the same time, I was also doing a lot of playing in creative mode and in designing farms, coming up with new kind of ideas. I always enjoy looking for rare things, like types of enchanted books you can find inside chests that had multiple enchantments, and multiple high enchantments were also really cool to find. And exploring dungeons was kind of one of the funnest things to do because they were kind of randomly throughout the world and they had a lot of cool goodies in them. I also started taking notes of different types of glitches that occurred throughout the different snapshots. Here you can see a sign that thinks it is a full block when it's broken. You can see the same kind of bug occurring here with this snow layer. Now at the time, the bug report system that they had wasn't very good, and it was very difficult to report bugs or have those bugs ever fixed. Even now, the reporting system isn't the best, and for new people to come in to report bugs, it's actually very confusing. This is when I really got into playing vanilla survival. And by finding great dedicated servers that play vanilla survival, it made playing this game style a lot more fun for me. And I was part of quite a few different types of whitelisted survival servers, where you didn't really have to worry about griefers or worry about your base getting destroyed, yet you could still play with other people in survival. Finding fast horses as well as breeding horses was a lot of fun for me. I used to go out and try to find large plains areas and find ones that are just full of tons of horses and collect all the horses and see how fast they were or how high they could jump, and then take the best ones back to my base. Also did a lot of exploring and looking for strange natural generation, this stone above this lava way. The survival mode also had no regeneration of hearts through eating, so you had to only regenerate through like apples or potions. And you can see them on one heart, and I eventually did die. The way I died was actually going across this mesa, and I was going down the side of it with this horse, and I felt like I was going to fall, and I naturally hit shift, which dismounted me from the horse, and I actually fell a couple blocks and it killed me. But I did a lot of exploration. I found this naturally generated kind of volcano, which is lava that poured over top of some water. I was also really into finding really tall Mason Plateau mountains, so I'd go and try to record which ones were the tallest ones I could find on the server. Now this server happened to have the seed being private, so exploration was actually kind of fun, because you couldn't just take the seed and use it to find these type of generations. Here you can see acacia tree is actually getting cut off by this village, and at the time, this was a snapshot I believe, the acacia trees actually had jungle logs because there was no acacia logs at the time. So finding these weird type of generations where like different structures would clip into each other was a lot of fun. I was always designing farms at the time and implemented a lot of my farms into the server. Here you can see a floating swamp tree that is right beside extreme hills. There's also these floating gravel pieces that you can find in Nether and made it kind of a funny shape. Whenever I found something that looked like a glitch or unusual, I usually take a screenshot of it. And that server was playing in the snapshots, so there was quite a few glitches. I was always out looking for like the perfect base, so I looked for really unique terrain. Along the way, I found a lot of weird structures, like this is a door that is part of a stronghold that cut off by a ravine. And in the nether fortresses, you can actually find these lava pockets that are formed when the structure cuts away part of it, exposing them. This is while I was building a witch farm. Water wasn't flowing properly. We We also found a bug where you can actually duplicate yourself, so there's 2 of you, and we did some fun with that. I also fought the Ender Dragon with the server, which was a lot of fun. I was really into my AFK fishing and collected tons of loot from it. You can see my fishing rod has several fishing lines being thrown out from a single rod. Now mushrooms naturally generate. They can actually generate on top of structures you normally can't place them on. So they're sitting there on top of that tree there. Here's a floating spruce tree that generated on that grass block. And there's these weird bugs that you can even see sometimes today on chunk borders where the water will just abruptly stop. And when water lakes were formed, they actually can erode underneath of trees, kind of making them floating. Here's another mushroom that generated on top of a tree. They also had these bugs where the lighting wasn't right. And these are actually pretty common back in the day. Also found this one extreme hills biome, which had a ton of pink sheep. I went around the area and kind of pulled all the pink sheep into the center and took a screenshot of them. If you guys don't know, the way that the game puts in the pink sheep is that essentially if there's one pink sheep in the area, every group that is naturally generated in will also have a high chance of having a pink sheep in it. Here you can see the dark oak trees that are crossing into the savanna, and how their leaves are changing color. Floating snow layers was a really cool thing to find. You can kind of see that over top of this. Whenever these water ponds were put in, they usually also left everything above them just floating, but they would eventually pop off. But nowadays they change it so those things will never pop off. So a lot of times before putting in a nice farm, you had to find a great location. And not knowing the seed to the server, meaning I had to do a lot of exploring looking for a triple nether fortress intersection. Because I designed quite a few different types of wither skeleton farms, and I wanted to put one in a very large intersection like this. In this generation here, you can actually see how the lava was generated down low, but then it was cut by the structure, so it just, even though the lava is floating, it just sits like that. Here you can see my wither skeleton farm that I call the wither wiper. I think I had about 4 gas that would sweep in a circle and sweep all the mobs to the center and drop them down to the player. I actually built this entire farm without taking a single death, but there was always tons of gas that were trying to kill me. Here you can see a leaf block that generated inside of Jungle Temple. Finding mushroom islands on the server was a lot of fun because they were so extremely rare. Of course I had to bring back all the mushrooms and keep all the babies and breed them up. Finding these savanna-like mountain plains was really cool. If they were kind of in these oceans, kind of made you think of some kind of like pirate cove. Here one of my farms, I think it was a pigment farm, actually kind of experienced a very strange bug where pistons can actually go invisible. And essentially this is like block 36 and it just gets stuck in that form. And you can kind of see I'm highlighting the edges of it, but the only way to get rid of it was with explosions. Here's a weird visual that was found in the sky, so I took a screenshot of it. There's also a lot of pranking going on. Someone pranked my entire base with watermelons. I think because I said something like watermelons are a very poor food source. And my base was actually a village. I just kind of lived in a village. Here I pulled off that glitch where you could duplicate yourself. This is where I used to do my villager training. It's actually on top of the nether because there was no zombies up there and it was a really nice place to work from. It was nice and clean, you didn't have to worry about any mob spawning. But I actually had a point where all my villagers kind of escaped out of the breeding pen and there was thousands of them going around and I ended up having to kill them. Killed several thousand villagers before they crashed the server. But finding the perfect villagers is something I spent a lot of time doing, and I had this whole network of different villagers I was keeping. Here you can see a cow that actually generated on top of this small grass block. There's a floating lava source in another fortress. A really cool floating island that had water kind of going off of it, so you could actually use that water to get back up to the top. Here's a savanna mountain that is over 220 blocks tall, which is really close to the world build limit, which is 256. Here's a village that generated in a ravine. You can kind of see how I just put stone all the way down to the bottom. Finding these floating rails inside mine shafts was kind of a neat thing to come across. And they sometimes also put in torches, but put them in the wrong direction. Now mushrooms can also generate in the nether, and here one generated on top of a glowstone block. Here I was fighting a wither with a friend, and he thought he could fly around in a boat to kind of distract it as I shot it. Didn't turn out to be a very good idea. Here we're doing some messing around with the duplicating ourselves glitch, and we actually came around to finding out how we could actually kill ourselves and we could actually duplicate our items, which is kind of cool. Here's a chest that is partly inside of a fence. Here's a screenshot of top secret project that I did. You can see a piston head pushing through the blind block. But maybe you guys recognize that image from something else. Here's another witch farm that I made, and the witches started spawning and just throwing potions at each other, and I made this infinite loop, which is kind of funny. Here's some water that just generated by just staying partly float like this. On some servers I try to rush to the end dimension and collect endstone before killing the ender dragon, and here I died by getting blown up by a silverfish, which is a pretty hard achievement to actually get in survival. The way this occurred is that my end portal was actually open and it was dark and a creeper hopped into it before me. I didn't know about it, and then when I tried to hop into it, silverfish spawned and pushed me into the end portal, and the silverfish came in after me. And then on the obsidian platform, the silverfish attacked me, and then the creeper blew up, and that's how I got that achievement. That's how I got killed by being blown up by a silverfish. Here you can see some grass that generated down inside of the water. Here's sugarcane that's actually going right through a tree. Here's a mushroom that generated on top of a acacia tree. The game cut away the ground, but the water here isn't flowing. I love finding these naturally generated pumpkins and try to see what was the highest number of pumpkins I could find. Here's a naturally forming kind of volcano looking island. There was this bug around mine shafts where the water would be indented and be kind of like an air gap. And they're kind of fun to come across, and I used to kind of take my boat into them and play around with them. Floating snow layers was always a cool thing to come across. Here you can see a swamp tree that's actually floating. And once in a while these lava lakes would just produce these stones above them. Here are some grass blocks that generated inside of a village house. And the way that the paths used to generate with villages, essentially it would just try to put a path over top of the highest block, and the highest block here was actually a tree, so I tried to change out some of the tree blocks to put in the cobblestone as well as the gravel. Doing exploring was so much fun because you can find cool places like this, which is a flower forest. I found two little piggies hiding in the jungle. You can see how a mushroom, when it grew, it actually went around the tree and didn't replace any of the leaves. Most of my screenshots were actually stuff like this, where I was taking coordinates of different things that I found. Here's a naturally generated floated cactus, which occurred when this pool of water cut away, leaving the cactus there. When two high grass plants used to get cut off, they would always show up as this here, which is a petunia. Here's a strange cave. It's one of those circular caves that actually try to generate inside this small hill, which made it almost look like an observatory. That's what it looked like from a distance. It's very strange and almost cuts through the entire thing. Here's two chickens that actually generated on top of a village house. Anytime a structure kind of intersects something like a cave, you can get strange things like this where the lava is just floating there and it's not flowing outwards. This is when they fixed the chicken jockeys, and now you can find them in the game again. Now structures can also break bedrock. As you can see here, here is a stronghold that generated very low down and actually cut into the bedrock. And this is actually a type of bedrock breaking method. Here's a corrupted chunk that actually cut away part of our nether portal. Here is a very rare dungeon that I found, where two dungeons actually generate on top of each other, making twice as many chests but only one spawner. There's always these visual bugs that look like this that you could find throughout the versions. Here's a sweeping wither skeleton farm that I made using the flying pistons. I actually took this screenshot because I actually duplicated those blocks. That's just not a ghost block visual thing. Those blocks are actually duplicated. There's twice as many blocks there. But this bug is extremely hard to pull off, and it was only actually recently fixed. But it did actually allow you to duplicate blocks like diamond blocks up to very recently. Here's a picture of a door that thinks he is closed when he's really open. This is a glitch up block that looks invisible. Here you can see there is a dungeon just in that little cave there to the left. And I actually came by it just by walking just like this and seeing it off to the corner of my eye. Here you can see this village try to put one of the houses inside of this large cave, and it had to be supported, so it went all the way down to the very bottom. I also did a lot of designing of farms in my creative world. Here's a villager sorting system that uses water. And when they introduced limestone, I also designed a lot of types of fly machines. This is actually a fly machine that allows you to move mobs while on a minecart, which was quite challenging back then. But I specifically designed this machine to move spider jockeys, as you could not send them through the nether. A lot of my creative worlds got deleted over the years, usually by the computer crashing or dying and losing everything on it. And I used to be upset that I would lose these worlds, but I learned that actually every time I would build something, I normally build it better than what I had built it before, so it really didn't matter what was on those worlds. Here you can see my 1.7 and 1.8 creative world. For some reason I always thought I had to put everything as tightly packed together. I always thought it was better to just have a survival world where you test stuff rather than going on to like a multiplayer redstone worlds, which there was quite a few of. But the problem with those is they usually were modded, so stuff actually worked differently, so it wasn't very useful to go on there. There was actually limited access, so it was actually harder to do testing on there than it was to just do your own world. This is a type of gas and pigment farm that I designed. This is a shifting pigment farm that uses 2 layers. I did a lot of testing with withers and how to automatically kill them using special bedrock formations and suffocation. Designed quite a few different types of wither skeleton farms. They're a lot of fun and challenging to design. I love incorporating mechanics such as having the dogs kill the withers so the player wouldn't have to do anything. I started showcasing my different discoveries through YouTube, showing how to break different types of bedrock, and showing ways to duplicate sand. Also designed a lot of different types of contraptions. This is a redstone contraption which allowed me to duplicate tons of sand at once. This is where I was designing Beacon in the Box farm, which is a way to automatically get beacons in survival. And this farm was actually a secret project, and somebody logged into my landline while I was actually working on this. And since it was such a complicated project that went over 3 different types of dimensions, I was kind of afraid that he was accidentally going to break something. This is just one of the parts of the Beacon in the Box, where there is a sand farm with an obsidian farm with a cobblestone farm, and I used a bunch of withers. This is also the same time I joined the ProtoTech server and started really getting into applying my builds into survival world. And we did this through a lot of planning. Now the ProtoTech server is actually the longest running vanilla survival server with over 120,000 days on it. And this server really allowed me to show that a lot of things I was designing were not just crazy ideas that came up in creative, but they're actually doable in survival. Here's the automatic cobblestone farm using a wither that we had in our world. Here's a skeleton that's trying to shoot me, but his arrows are always hitting the block above me and deflecting onto the ground. This creeper is so concentrated on my friend who is nearby, he doesn't even pay attention that I'm right beside him. This is a floating roller coaster that I designed on a previous survival server, and I showcased it as an April Fool's video, and no one has yet figured out how I was able to do this in survival. There's actually quite a bit more to this amusement park than just a floating roller coaster. In the future video, I'll take a tour of this server and show you the rest of the crazy stuff that I did on there. Here's another type of bedrock breaking method that I discovered. This was the first automatic chorus fruit farm. When shulkers came out, they kind of had this weird bug where they would keep launching their bullets inside of each other. It would make these big swarms of bullets, which were pretty leggy but cool to look at. This is a bunch of fishing line coming out of one rod. I made some more types of chorus fruit farms. This is like industrial sized one. And this one here is a flower farm if you're just trying to go after the flowers. This is a sand generator that uses a very bizarre mechanic with ender crystals. I also made quite a few different designs to collect dragon's breath, which was very challenging. This is how my avatar image was actually first acquired. It's just Gordy, who's this pumpkin armor stand guy with a mushroom block background. While making dragon farms, I came across a lot of strange bugs where dragons were actually just throwing blocks quite far from them, and they eventually fixed it. This is a trick where you can actually remove the name of different items. I designed an underground iron farm to actually hide it on some servers where they really didn't want you to build anything inside of spawn chunks. So this way the iron farm can be inside spawn chunks but still be hidden. This was my wither skeleton farm that used some cool things like shifting floors as well as gas sweepers. Also designed farms to go after very specific mobs such as baby pigmen riding on top of baby chickens. And these can actually be obtained in survival. Of course, while doing these testing, I had a zombie spawn in full diamond. This was using the zombie leader mechanic where you can call in reinforcements, and it actually made a pretty good zombie farm. Here you can see the hitboxes of baby chickens with a baby zombie on top of it, and what it looks like compared to a normal one. Quite a bit smaller, and they go underneath of really small places. But when they grow up, they actually come kind of glitched out with their legs stuck inside of the chicken. I had designed a rail system to kind of collect these guys and sort them. You can see this minecart's a little bit off center. There was some glitch where it only allowed you to show the player's head, which you can see here. Here I'm using the new Frostwalker to actually traverse the end dimension with a single bucket of water. Creepers spawn right beside our villager and our villager breeder. Found some zombies holding blocks and causing lag. This is doing some more testing with the dragon. Kinda look kinda cool. You can see how the zombies were actually put on top of chickens incorrectly. Here's the automatic snow farm using the new mending effect, and having the pigmen die to give you the XPs. I did a lot of things to do with withers, and here's just a simple obsidian farm I designed. Here's me beside Gordy, right before we go to do the Halloween event, where we try to collect mobs with jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkins on their heads. Here you can see some weird generation, and upgrading from 1.7 to 1.8 left some floating lava, a large-scale villager breeder they made. Doing testing with sand as well as end crystals. There was some really weird behavior to do with sand and how it was moving around. Here somebody pranked me with a whole bunch of ender chests. It was a little bit annoying to tear down, but it was really nice to have a lot of ender chests. Some of the guys also did a Valentine event. Here I show some weird mechanics to do with dragon eggs and how they can delete blocks. This is a sand conveyor of the beacon in the box. Here's a strange bug where you place down lava as well as water and won't update. Designing some villager farms with rails underneath of them that can still sustain water. Here I show a trick to do with just holding armor in your hand with thorns can actually deal thorns damage. This is where I showed how you can put armor on villagers with thorns to kill zombies. This is another April Fool's video where I show how you can pull sand out of midair, which it turns out to be real. This is the ultimate mob generator where I found a way you can actually duplicate mobs when sending them into the end portal. And now this method is pretty popular among anarchy type servers. I also designed tons of farms that never really mounted to much. About 90% of my farms I never show. And this is one of them where I use gas to kind of push mobs off of the spawning floors, and then have them drop down and pick up their loot with some hopper minecarts. Here's a stronghold that has a floating ladder because it was cut away by a cave on the side. For quite a while there was a bug where chicken jockeys would only end up spawning in a chicken. Here I'll show you guys can make a wither cage just by using a piston head. There was a glitch where wither skeletons when spawned in, they're actually offset by a little bit so they can spawn inside of some blocks like doors. This floating island is just barely off the ground but it has a tree on it too. A mineshaft with a floating rail as well as chest minecart on top of it. Riding on top of a horse, my guy looks kind of funny. Here we're doing a bunch of bedrock breaking on the ProtoTech server, and we designed some flying machine to help us do this. This is illustrating how it's possible to put a entity inside of a hopper, but it's able to sit on different levels of the hopper. Sometimes we update through versions, stuff doesn't always generate the same. So here you can see part of a village got cut off. This is actually a really cool picture from the ProtoTech server where there is a desert temple that is inside of a desert village. You can see the temple there. You can also see the village houses are generated right inside of the temple. It's like the two things generated right inside of each other. It came out really cool. And I might visit someday on the ProtoTech server. It's made a program where it would find all the village locations, it would teleport me to all of them. Then I took screenshots of some really cool ones that like generated inside of extreme hills like this one. This also has some flowing lava. Here's a village that generated with part of the village completely cut out. Once in a while you get lava that just comes out like this where it just freezes. Here's a cool place where there is desert on one side of this extreme hill mountain and on the other side there is cold biome. Here's a randomizer using the updating of the water through the magma block. Strays were actually kind of this purplish color when they had enchanted armor on, but then they fixed it. Here's some grass growing inside of a village. This village has a witch hut for its neighbor. It's actually extremely close. It looks kind of cool going from savanna into a swamp. This is actually the bedrock texture, just two of them right beside each other. Here's a mob spawn right at the world border. This is a village that went into a dark oak forest. Here I'm illustrating a new way to actually move power easily through rails and observers when they came out. This is when they added the dragon's miniature hitboxes being visible, the little green ones. This is a wither cage I made out of just using a shulker box. Here I'm illustrating how easy it is to hold Vex in by using a boat. Shulkers also have a lot of weird properties, like here it's holding up a sand block. The mansions used to be able to have these water lakes generate inside of them, also lava lakes which used to burn them down. I made a lot of different types of mob farms using observers when they came out. Here you can see one that has a tripwire that updates it. This one here is a creeper farm design. Here's one of the mobs we collected during Halloween, which has a jack-o'-lantern head on it. It's also a baby zombie on top of a chicken, which is extremely rare. Here's us collecting a bunch of different variations during Halloween, and these are wither skeletons. Here's both types of pigmen. You can see the pumpkin as well as the jack-o'-lantern. This is what it looked like after we got the wither skeletons out of the farm. Before shulker boxes, ender chests were the biggest thing to carry all your materials in, and inventory management was pretty hard. In this version they kind of changed chests so they made it so all the items were spread out to fill the whole thing. I also did a lot of villager trading. I really enjoyed looking for rare villagers. Here's a villager that's selling projectile protection 4, unbreaking 3, thorns 1. Skeleton horsemen are always a cool thing to find in survival, and here's one that landed in our perimeter. Some water just doesn't know where to flow to. Here's a really fast mob farm. The dog is partly invisible. Some more kind of visual bugs that you once in a while get along chunk borders. Sometimes this occurs when you're switching to spectator mode. Here's the dragon's death animation, looks really cool. And of course the end credits, but there's so much more to the game after even being the dragon. Here I died on one of my alt accounts after collecting a lot of XP, so you can see my score is quite high. Here I'm testing a new type of mob farm where the mobs are directly sent through nether portals. You can kind of see how they're spaced out every 8 blocks. Here we're doing some testing with the mushroom farm, seeing how the rates are. Here's a prank where somebody filled their base in with dragon eggs. This is kind of a cool little seed where you spawn on an island and there's a village also part of the island. This is an auto crafting system I came up with to help craft items that are kind of hard to do. This is a new type of mob farm that I made where mobs spawn really close to another portal, but there's water in between so it decreases light level enough so they can spawn over there. This is a bug where spider jockeys would just spawn the skeleton and not the spider. This is what our iron farm looked like in our spawn. This is when they change it so that the wither skeletons no longer can spawn inside of doors. I love coming up with new types of farms, and this is a mushroom farm using withers. Did a bunch of AFK fishing and actually fished up a completely maxed out fishing rod. Here's an iron golem that spawned inside of our iron farm who's giving this villager a rose. This is what a mushroom farm looked like at the end. I started AFKing at our donut pigment farm. That really increased my mob kills statistic. When the guy is AFK fishing, has their fishing bobber that actually went up into the storage system, and you can see how it's going along the item sorters. I came back from AFKing and somebody made my name out of boats. I do a lot of testing where I go into creative and kind of see how these farms will fit inside of our survival world before building them up. Started using slime blocks as a scaffolding blocks, and it's really increasing my statistics. I also do a lot of designing with other people, and this is me and Kika working on a villager sorter. Here you can see a visual problem with the old mushrooms. We're testing out different types of mushroom farms and trying to see how compact we can actually make them. Here's a skeleton horseman being opened up. Here I'm trying to disguise myself as one of the villagers in the trading hall. This is the area around the player where stuff will get random tick, so stuff like crops will grow in that area. Here we're experimenting with multiple dragons fighting at once. This is where we're testing with using withers as a mob switch, as they prevent other mobs from spawning in. Here you can see some gravel naturally sitting on top of some tall grass, letting it float. Here's a wither chilling out in a bedrock formation. Here I'm doing some testing to do with how easy it is to kill the dragon. Looks like someone renamed one of my old dogs. Someone didn't like all the pigmen coming from the portal, so they put in some iron golems, although they don't last very long because of that bug to do with leads. Here's a wither skull that got unloaded and then froze in the air. I really enjoy unlocking as well as trading with villagers. You can see some of my statistics at the time. Here you can see a dungeon that generated into a stronghold and how the dungeon destroyed most of the stronghold except for the chest, as it was unable to destroy that. I made a flying machine that raises the water level. Here's a machine that allows you to get infinite amounts of concrete blocks. I'm running an obsidian farm down below, but you can also see the progress that Akron's making on the end island. Looks like somebody died to this baby pigman, he stole their elytra. Here's a spawn point of an old survival server that I used to play on. We found the spider dungeon inside of a hill and we cleared it all out. Our AFK fishing farm seemed pretty popular. Here's our quad witch farm perimeter, as well as our storage system. These are the results of our miniature charged creeper farm. Been doing a little bit of AFK fishing. We use the charged creepers to get the different types of mob skulls. It turns out our flower farm also produces a lot of pigs. Here's a visual glitch making it look like the minecart's on fire when it's really not. We actually found a way to fight 2 ender dragons at once in survival, and we did this on the ProtoTech server. Here the guys are clearing out a bunch of bedrock to build their farm down quite low. This is a new farm we came up with to do large amounts of concrete blocks at once. This is a crazy fast concrete block farm. It uses a lot of cool mechanics to move the concrete around and get it converted into concrete blocks. Somebody tried to scare us with a creeper armor stand. Here's an old prototype of a Vex farm that we made, back when the boats actually had to be moved in order to pick up entities. It's pretty complicated, but it actually worked. Here I'm showing an alternative way to kill Vex, just allowing them to drown in the water while being inside of a minecart. Here's another way you can make headless pistons using ender crystals. So many dogs all got some new collars. The ghosts of the pigs are haunting us. Here's a cobblestone farm using a wither. Here's a way to actually get the bedrock block in survival. Here I'm doing some testing to do with moving shulkers. Looks like I need to do some more testing. Here's some beginning stage testing for the shulker shell shucker, which is the automatic way to get shulker shells in survival. Doing some testing with the parrots, so I got them there on my shoulder. I also had to test to see if they could survive underneath water on my shoulder as well. And of course, you gotta test to see if they can help you fly. They also introduced a new crafting system, which had a couple of little glitches with the book. Doing some more testing with the shulker shell shucker, trying to see if it's possible in survival. Here I made a big sponge to see if shulkers could teleport to it before being teleported away because of a different glitch. Strange mountain generated. Smallest 1x2 piston door. Checking on the progress of the Mountain of Doom. This is when we discovered how it's possible to get 2 of the same type of enchantment on a single item in survival. You can see that bow has 2 powers as well as 2 unbreakings. This led us to do some more testing to do with skeleton horsemen, and we came across some other weird bugs. Here we're making a skeleton horseman farm. We're using a lot of flying machines to help us build this. The inconsistencies with the new crafting grids are kind of annoying. Here we're putting in the water for the entire system, using a bunch of flying machines we made. I got sniper drill while removing some extra wither skeletons on the bedrock ceiling. Here the ProtoTech guys are playing around with the glitched out cactus blocks in their hand. They changed spawners, so now the little characters inside them can actually be wearing armor and also have enchanted armor. This means you can actually collect rare types of spawners by getting close to them so they switch to one of these types and then moving away from them, so then they're never able to switch to something else. Somebody decides to save one of the pigs. This is what happens when you open your world in Forge. Coming up with a passive mob farm to put at the very bottom of the world. This is what happens when you go AFK but you forget to properly enclose yourself. Working on adding some more farms around the witch perimeter. Testing out our new all-in-one skeleton farm, AFK fish farm, and AFK snow farm. Coming up with a new way to get overstacked items in survival. Designing an ender dragon farm, and come across some weird shapes that the dragon will put itself into. Showcasing the rarest mob in Minecraft, which has a 0% chance of spawning in a normal survival world, but is possible to spawn in after breaking some bedrock. Acacia tree living in the extreme hills. Somebody saying hello. Most important screenshot here. Inconsistent stair type. Testing to see if our new horseman jockeys can wear armor. I don't remember pig being a new type of block. A new type of ender dragon stasis chamber. Making a map to look like the end portal frame. I don't want to be belittle, so I won't touch his stuff. Dead shrub living on a floating sand block. Glitched out chorus plant that's floating. Floating snow layer over top of snow layer. Doing some more testing with the ender dragon farm. It looks like a couple of my dogs died. Doing some testing with the new ghost mode. Built up a stray spider jockey farm to collect rare variations. Ocelots sometimes spawn in with baby kittens. Lightning, but you can see the entity hitbox of it. Finishing the villager island project. During our testing with the dragging XP farm, we actually noticed that the XPs were glitching inside of blocks and getting stuck there. This was causing massive amounts of lag. Collecting villagers that sell every type of enchanted book, as well as ones that sell every type of enchanted diamond tool, all for the lowest price. It looks like my farm produced a lot of wither skeleton jockeys. Kika AFKing at the donut pigment farm while a magma cube is trying to get to him. Building a wall of vines in the end dimension to mark out where the dragon XP farm will be. Testing out new possible ways to make a tree farm with a player inside of a boat to be able to plant the trees without losing rooms for dispensers. What the glitched out cactus looks like when it's inside of an item frame. A prototype of our automatic quadruple oak tree farm using withers. Looks like we have a lot of dragons building up in a dragon farm. Doing some testing on positioning a guardian farm. Noticing inconsistencies with pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns. I found a way to move the bedrock end portal up or down in survival. Of course, if you move it too far down, you put it outside of the world, which crashes the game. But you can also move it up, which is kind of cool. Messing around with triple chest. A new location for spawn in our creative world. And the ender dragons continue to pile up. Designing some shulker box refilling stations with the ProtoTech guys. Going for the world record to obtain the most XPs possible in survival. What it looks like just before you crash the game. Testing out some new obsidian farm ideas. We found a way to make the dragon just freeze in survival. The ProtoTech guys collecting a whole bunch of discontinued bows before we upgrade, slowly reaching the max limit in XPs. Testing a new oak tree farm using ender crystals and withers. And arrow in an item frame. Getting very close to reaching the limit of XPs possible. Reaching the 2.1 billion XP limitation in Minecraft, which puts me at level 21,863. ProtoTech guys celebrating my world record, which took about 20 in real life days of AFKing at my Dragon XP farm. Making my way back to spawn without dying with all those XPs. A very popular location on the server. Tricking new members into thinking we actually have command blocks on our survival server. Chilling out at our farms and storage system. Collecting some double enchanted bows in survival. Playing around a bit with my dragon farm. Designing some automatic flying machines to blow up large holes in the world. Noticed some bugged out tripwire hooks while designing a sponge farm. Sponge farm looks like a success. Found a stronghold that generated in the water, so it got flooded. More testing at my sponge farm. Somebody thought obsidian around a spawner wouldn't protect it from TNT. Let's find out. Looks like the spawner's still there. Might have blew up some other people's contraptions though. Playing around with the chorus stem, you can actually do some kind of cool stuff. An alternative way to align items for our item sorter. Doing some testing at the world border. The world border is not forgiving. Summoning in 100 withers to help us mine out a new perimeter. Designing an automatic AFK Protection 8 helmet farm. Lonely tree on a sky island. Why can't we have giant zombie chicken jockeys? Using boats to sort out different mob types. What happens when somebody fills the whole sky in with dragon eggs? Testing how powerful, the best helmet possible in survival. Testing how trapped horses open up. Finding a left-handed wither skeleton jockey. Showcasing nether portal update suppression. Literally waking up on the wrong side of the bed. Testing with the ProtoTech guys to make multiple spawner clusters. Designing flying machines to make these spawners in midair. Now we got 4 spawners all right beside each other. Let's do this in survival. Looks like a success. We got 4 mob spawners here on the ProtoTech server now. Use the mob spawners to collect rare stray jockeys before they become discontinued. Glitched out rail. During Halloween, mobs can spawn with pumpkins on their heads. Another guy inside the mob spawner can also have a pumpkin on his head. Use their new mob spawners to collect extremely rare jack-o'-lantern headed stray spider jockeys. A mob spawner that has a pumpkin headed skeleton. And this mob spawner actually has a jack-o'-lantern headed zombie, but it doesn't mean that when it spawns the mobs that they're going to also have what's shown inside of the spawner. An extremely rare variation of the wither skeleton jockey who has a jack-o'-lantern head as well as left-handed. All the guys we collected during the 24 hours which a Halloween event occurs. All the wither skeleton horse jockeys that we collected during the Halloween event. Pingu and I making our flying house. Somebody renamed our wither in our nether hub to Ender Dragon. Testing to see if the wither notices me. Designing a flying machine that will detect when the game actually saves. Discovering we actually have one of these super rare mobs in our own world. As well as some other types that are usually not possible in survival. Making some flying machines to destroy water. Somebody got a boat sombrero. Always enjoy trading with the villagers and getting the cool stuff. Designing some flying machines to allow us to break large amounts of bedrock while being AFK. Doing some more testing and survival, making sure that it works. Testing it in a backup of our world. Playing around with the overstacked items and how they are saved in the game. A bow with a punch enchantment on it twice. I maxed out the amount of XPs I can hold, so I might as well max out my armor. A simple music disc farm. A pond that generated in this little hole. What it looks like after 100 withers mine away all the blocks in the area. A desert temple that is completely hidden. Digging a massive hole to put in some new farms. Designing a dragon egg generator. Playing around with fishing rods while being in spectator mode. A floating ladder trick. Inconsistent wooden gates during a snapshot. Designing a mega smelter with the ProtoTech guys. A giant spruce tree farm with wither block breaking. Building our simple netherworld farm on the ProtoTech server. Smokey is a mule. Somebody pranked me with a bunch of paintings. Designing a new wither skeleton farm. Trying my luck at designing a Christmas tree. Coming up with some new netherwort farms with the ProtoTech guys. Wishing I was this good of a builder. Some bugginess with structure blocks. Testing wither skeleton farm with incline rails. You can no longer use any type of plank to make a boat. Gunpowder powered jet aircraft. Designing a flying machine to clear away all the blocks as well as water in the world. How I play build battle on Hypixel. Getting ready to fight 30 Ender Dragons at once with Cubfan, Elrich, Ioser, and the ProtoTech crew. Fighting 30 dragons at once on the ProtoTech server. Cubfan trying to help us clear out those 100 withers before dying. Working on our passive mob farm area. It's starting to look really good. The Wither Storm comes to the ProtoTech server. Notice that they removed the ability to put rails on top of the snow layers. 2 pigmen spawning in the nether portal, one right-handed, one left-handed. Because sugarcane is more powerful than lava. Baby zombie in the spawner. Designing automatic flying machines to build entire floors as well as walls with the ProtoTech crew. Showcase that it's possible to actually move gateway portals in survival. Showing redstone ore actually lets light through. Designing some more flying machines to automate more things. A flying wither cage concept. Playing around with ghost block generators. A floating igloo. How I play the minigame Bed Wars. Looks like Spawn got overhauled with terracotta. Working on finishing the passive mob farm. My arm doesn't look right. Some weird generation in the snapshots. Twin trees also became a possibility. They actually look pretty cool. A bug with vines growing underneath of jungles. Love finding exposed fossils inside of ravines. Seeing how far I can fall into the void with notch apples. Building our new iron farm in spawn chunks. Bizarre glitchy block in the snapshots. Snapshots always bring some unique stuff, like buttons on eggs, and turtles that like to cause a lot of lag, and ladders on eggs, and a cage with an egg in it. Finished the passive mob farm and it's looking great. This is a farm at the very bottom of the world. Those command blocks are actually just maps, and this is what they look like on our survival world. That might be useful in the future. Bats not taking damage from magma. Not sure why NBT dead is useful on a beacon. Running our perimeter maker over a large area and collecting all the diamonds. A seed where you spawn right beside a blacksmith. A very pretty scenery with the ice spikes in the background. A village that generates in the ocean. And it also has some sand inside of its well. Some out of place floating sand. A backward torch. Mushroom sitting in midair. Designing an automatic way to obtain the bedrock block in survival using flying machines with the ProtoTech crew. Glitchy sponges in the snapshots. First time realizing that. When you hop out of your bed and you find you're stuck inside of somebody. Mobs not suffocating by blocks. Using the Phantom's wings to x-ray into the water. Strange stuff to occur when waterlogged blocks were introduced. Penguin. Coming up with a new type of mob conveyor with the ProtoTech crew. This flower pot doesn't have any bottom. How not to make a redstone clock. Glitched out ocean monuments in snapshots. A new type of rare mob to collect. A map with the new markers on it. Inconsistencies with being in elytra mode, and the hitbox also changing. Making a new fish farm just by having a boat. Playing around with the new waterlogged blocks, and the ability to put lily pads on top of them. Actually looks kinda cool. Now that's just bizarre. Designing a new shulker shell shucker with 0x. Discovering a fossil while digging out a new witch perimeter. Designing a new bedrock breaking flying machine, which I still need to make a video about. Coming up with some new mob farm designs with the ProtoTech guys. Getting ready to build the shulker shell shucker up on the ProtoTech server. A screenshot just before the server crashed. A minecart that clipped through me and got stuck on my hips. A super fast spider mob farm. What happens when you leave your ship too long? A cactus that generated beside a solid block. Sneaking water into the nether. Double spider monster. Snapshots means there's some glitchiness like these air bubbles inside the ship. As well, there are also some here in the ruins. Going crazy fast on blue ice and glitching out. How to get rid of 500,000 blocks of sand. Some ocean ruins that are not in the ocean. A village that cut into a tree. A shipwreck and village. Some cool floating islands. A shipwreck inside of a coral reef. A shipwreck underneath of an ocean monument. Trying to crash the creative server. When 0x makes the entire floor of the creative server an instant kill lingering potion. Designing a way to use RNG to manipulate lightning strikes to strike in a single chunk. It turns out to be a success. Some cool new mobs to try to capture. Designing a floor building flying machine. Playing around with a ghost mode. Showing the shulker shell farm to one of the Hermitcraft members, StockM77. Frosted ice seems to be broken in the snapshot. Ice spikes right beside a jungle. A shipwreck on an iceberg. What KK really looks like when he takes off his mask. Showing the shulker shell shocker to one of the Hermitcraft members, Exumavoid. Llama that will not fall. Lava legs seem to be on the wrong side. Trying to reach the 2.1 billion limit in item stacking. Messing with some glitched beds. Cool looking valley. The start of building our RNG lightning farm. Doing some more testing with manipulating the RNG of the game to get trap horses 100% of the time. This particle bug is actually still in the game. Designing a fly machine to mine away the world. Water doesn't seem to want to flow in. Phantoms aren't so dangerous once inside of a minecart. Designing fly machines to be able to make a cobble road as well as put rails on top of it while being AFK. A neat looking dark oak biome. Some funny visual glitches to do with shulkers. What happens when it looks like when the game thinks you're dead? Trying to see if we could crush a player with shulker boxes if he'll turn into diamonds. A zombie spawner with gold pants. A strange looking tree. A glitched out fence post. Armor sitting on drowns not properly. Paddling my boat underneath the ocean without taking damage. Phantoms glitching through blocks. Minecraft changes the way entities interact with blocks. Baby drowned not riding the chicken properly. One version where the ender crystal beams were glitched out. Pufferfish hitboxes being incorrect. Being able to X-ray while being in swimming mode. A conveniently placed obsidian platform in the end dimension. A glitched out door at the world build limit. Enderman pathfinding being broken during a snapshot. What happens when you go AFK on the ProtoTech server with your forward button being pressed down? You become entertainment for others. Inconsistent glass pane connecting. A village in the mountains. A change the way giant trees look. Particles from breaking a cauldron. Withers can no longer break liquids. A skeleton that was impossible to kill no matter how you tried. A dolphin farm using the Johnnies. Chilling in water and lava. Changes that they made to do with liquids and cactuses. Lava still breaks them. Applying fire aspect as well as knockback to armor stands. Testing how block duping occurs so we can get it fixed. Removing all the lava that the withers left behind after blowing up our perimeter. An alternative fast ladder. Noticing that the northwest bug is still in the game. Finding a way to repeatedly generate gateway portals in survival. Making an endstone farm from our new discoveries. Blocking off the rest of lava from flowing in. Now we have a big huge hole in the world. Well, that wasn't too hard. Proving that it's possible to slowly move the gateway portal to the side. The home residence of the Earth computer. When mobs ignored skylight when spawning. A glitch to do with trees not having leaves. Playing on the Mountain of Doom Elytra course. Showing one of the Minecraft developers our endstone farm. And also show him other things we designed, like this block quarry, which automatically will take away the blocks from the entire world and then destroy them into items where we can collect them. And it's on a massive fly machine so it can continue to quarry away the entire world. And uses a lot of neat tricks to make it work. Completing RNG lightning farm after several months of testing and designing. So now we can make it lightning on demand on our survival server. Building 1,000 fly machines for our secret project. And of course all the fly machines are ran off of flower power. A ocean rune and a ship generate inside of each other. The second most important image here. Taking the Minecraft developer on a tour of the ProtoTech server. Passing 100,000 days on the server. Vines were glitchy for a snapshot. Akron's secret ink farm. Invisible horses. What happens when you don't build the dragon egg generator properly? Testing the mob spawning rates of 1.13. Breaking some bedrock using dragon eggs. Making an endstone farm with tons of hopper minecarts. This floating igloo has a trapdoor but it's missing the ladder system going into the basement. Looking into what is causing rendering problems. An enderman who is cheating by placing blocks inside of himself. A oddly shaped mountain. Glitched sugarcane as well as snow layers. An entire fossil underneath of the ocean, which technically started inside of a desert. Testing on a new bedrock breaking fly machine, as well as an alternative bedrock texture. Well, that doesn't seem right. Seeing if we could put some armor on our horseman jockeys to make them look cool. Actually collecting all 4 types of the rare wither skeleton jockey on the ProtoTech server. Well, that doesn't seem right either. A simple sand conveyor we use to place tons of sand. A shipwreck by Ocean Monument by Ocean Rune. I did not take this photo. What happens when you upgrade your witch farm to a snapshot? What chunks look like when you're in a spectator mode? When termites were first introduced into Minecraft. I think the pumpkins are trying to spell something. A new design for a flying wither cage to quarry away blocks. An extremely tall naturally generated cactus that's on the ProtoTech server. A shipwreck that's inside of a village. A village that naturally generated up the side of this mountain. Minecraft introduces new types of zombies that have unique biome as well as profession clothing. More mobs to try to collect on the ProtoTech server. Somebody got tricked into putting on a curse of binding pumpkin. How to transport villagers thousands of blocks. Mumbo Jumbo's mustache somehow gets onto our villager. Glitch fishing line. Extra fat chickens. Extra wide villager. Double raid. Well, that's new. Showing that it's once again possible to get god armor in survival. The fastest flying machine in Minecraft designed by the ProtoTech guys. A village that is under the dirt. A revamp to our nether hub. Making a seabud out of a composter. Working on a spawn project with the guys. What happens when you go AFK on the server? Clearing a bunch of water and watching the mobs surf it. What it looks like the inside of our lightning farm. You can see the trapped horses opening up into horsemen. Wither cannot destroy cobwebs. Checking out a firework explosion system by Zoomstrike. Coming up with an alternative bedrock breaking method using dragon eggs. Building fly machines which are going to fly all the way to world border out 30 million blocks. Some glitchy flowers as well as snow layers. A village that creeped into a jungle. A pillager outpost that spawned by a village. Cool jungle terrain with a waterfall. A tree that generated way down inside of a ravine near the lava level. A glitch in the snapshots. Fox wearing frostwalking boots, freezing the water to ice. Some pixel art made by the viewers of Gordy riding on top of a fox. A fox trying to locate a rabbit under the ground. Building up a flying machine to build ourselves a floor. I think I'm seeing faces. A cool hole going right through this mountain. No end portal generated in this snapshot. The dragon's falling apart. When you misplace a block and you accidentally kill 30 shulkers. Some visual braille glitches. Testing how far crossbows can shoot compared to bows. Starting to generate gateway portals on demand on ProtoTech. Finding a witch hut by the world border on the server. The restaurant at the end of the world. Glitch water with grass on top of it. Checking out a new RNG farm. Noticing that mobs aren't dying in the void. How to properly move villagers around in a boat. Seeing if new 1.14 villagers will breed in the nether. Noticing that the new iron golems will spawn inside of blocks, and they will suffocate and die. When lighting a creeper with flint and steel, it won't cause nearby mobs to drop unique blocks, unlike TNT. Same goes for TNT minecarts. The only way to obtain the luck effect in survival during a snapshot. Gordy chilling with his new campfire shield. Making an iron farm using Vex. I just went AFK for a minute. Testing out new villager breeding in 1.14. Pixel art made by the viewers, Gordy, and new 1.14 blocks. Designing and building the perimeter maker to clear out a 2,000 block long area on ProtoTech. Water doesn't know which way is downhill. Killing the Ender Dragon while facing the wrong direction in the April Fool's version. A build by the viewers of Gordy landing on the moon. Seeing if uncraftable arrows are possible to craft. The fox with his food hanging out the side of his mouth. Some glitches to do with scaffolding during the snapshots. A bird's eye view of our spawn area on the server. making it snow particles by shift-clicking a dragon egg. Chidi's sand block. A desert temple in the middle of the ocean. Changes to wolves so they don't attack skeletons. A very large explosion on our creative server. Taking a tour of Mountain of Doom with XO. Playing Egg Hunter minigame on the server and finding the egg. Designing new raid farms while checking out people's builds. What happens when you AFK in creative? Designing a new fox farm. Some project that I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about. The Mountain of Doom Elytra course. Turns out our cat farm is also our wandering trader farm. Designing a new iron farm for 1.14. Found this map on the server while doing testing with viewers. When you find yourself out 4 million blocks in survival and the only way to get back is to kill yourself. Doing a wide range of testing with 1.14. Viewers making crazy looking rail system with new floating rail trick. Testing out 100% return Wither Rose farm. I was invited to an exclusive disco party that was 1,000 blocks under the world. All this time I thought these lamps illustrated how much ender pearls were in the chest. Little did I know. 10 years of Minecraft in screenshots. I know you guys probably have a lot of questions, and if you do, go ahead and ask them in the comments. I'll try my best to answer all the questions, and if you're somebody that does know the answer to these questions, I really appreciate if you'd help answer them. There's an incredible amount of stuff I could talk about the olden days of Minecraft, but I try to keep this video mostly about the screenshots. And there was some other stuff I wanted to talk about, but I just couldn't find screenshots to go with it. You also notice that as years went by, I started taking more and more screenshots, and I also had less and less of my screenshots getting corrupted or lost. It was a lot of fun going back and looking at all these old screenshots and then bringing back old memories of playing Minecraft back in the day. The reason why I really liked Minecraft is because it reminded me a lot of like playing with Legos and how you can mix around the blocks to build anything you really want to. And I really think this is why Minecraft was so successful, allowing people to be creative. And the freedom of the sandbox game, allowing players to kind of play whatever game style wanted, allowed Minecraft to last this long and will continue to allow Minecraft to succeed as long as they make sure to stay with their roots and allow it to be a sandbox where people can do what they enjoy. And for me, Minecraft really allowed me to open up as I was a very shy person. It gave me a platform to be creative and to showcase my creativity to the world. And I hear a lot of very similar stories from other people that play Minecraft. I really enjoy sharing my Minecraft knowledge with others through these videos. This allows me to illustrate to others that anything is possible in Minecraft, just as anything is possible in real life. People think you have to be smart to be good at something, and it has very little to do with that. It has more to do with determination and willpower. And the goals of my videos is to show people that they can also be creative and do exactly what I do if they put their mind to it. And this creative mindset is also very useful in real life. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and I look forward to other people reaching their 10-year anniversary of playing Minecraft and seeing their screenshots. I see myself playing this wonderful game well into the future, as I'm having so much fun designing farms and contraptions for vanilla survival and showcasing them with the world. If these screenshots sparked your interest, you can always check out more stuff like this on my channel. Really, you see me walking around in the beginning as well as now at the end. It's Minecraft's reintroduction of the classic world. And you can play this on their website, and I'll put the link down in the description. And down there you can also find the links to all the other references that I make in this video, and you can learn more about them there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!